Raise your right hand, sir. Solemnly swear the testimony about the guest is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes, sir, I do. Be seated. State your name and spell your first and last name for the court recorder.
Tony Weber, TonyWeber.
You can proceed.
Mr. Weber, I want to recall your attention back in April of 2011.
Yes, sir.
Where were you working back then?
Decatur County Sheriff's Office.
And how long were you a deputy there?
Law enforcement in Decatur County, approximately 15 years.
15 years.
Yes, sir.
Well, now you got a new job though, right?
Yes, sir.
Got a new, better job.
Yes.
Make a little more.
Yes, sir.
April 13th, 2011, did you have occasion to respond to the crime scene on Swan Johnson?
Yes, sir, I did.
Tell me how that came about.
That morning I was leaving the high school. I'd been working traffic patrol, just trying to deter speeders through a school zone. After that, I had went to 911 dispatch center and was made aware of the call. I then responded emergency traffic to the Swan Johnson Road address.
You responded emergency traffic, is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Does that mean facts?
Lights and siren, yes, sir.
License siren.
Yes, sir.
Was it just you or was anybody with you?
It was just me in my car.
Tell us what you saw when you arrived there.
When I arrived at the address, as I was pulling in the driveway, I noticed two people standing in front of a residence. One was later identified as Clint Bobo. The other was a neighbor. I believe her name was Kathy Wise.
So you pull up that long driveway, Swan Johnson, lights and sirens, and you see Clint Bobo and the neighbor, female.
Yes.
What'd you do?
I exited my vehicle, went up, and was kind of trying to determine what was going on, if a crime had occurred, or the nature of the call, what exactly had been going on.
This call was some type of kidnapping call, right?
I said that Holly Bobo had been taken, or a female had been taken into the woods.
That doesn't happen every day.
No, sir.
Did you talk to Clint Bobo?
I did.
He gave you a brief version of what was going on.
Yes, sir. He said that somebody in camouflage had taken his sister into a wooded area behind and to the right of the house from where we were.
So what do you do in response to that?
We began to walk towards the area where he had said that his sister was taken into the woods.
Who's waiting?
Mr. Bobo and I. I don't remember at that time whether the neighbor had come with us. We started walking back through there and just generally asking him questions. Are you sure, this is what happened? Are you sure there's nothing going on? I actually asked him, I said, are you sure she didn't get a ride to school? Because I believe he had made comment that she was supposed to be going to college that morning. And I asked him, are you sure she didn't get a ride? He said he was sure she did not get a ride to school. He kept saying that she was taken into the woods.
Okay.
I asked to see where her vehicle was. At some point, we ended up over near her Mustang in the carport.
And see in the carport.
That's when I noticed there was blood spatter and a puddle of blood on the floor.
You recognize that?
Yes, sir. It appears to be the carport of the Bobo's residence.
And was that car there?
Yes, sir, it was.
It was her car. Is this the blood you're talking about?
It appears to be, yes, sir. It's in the general location for sure.
And I got a close up at least part of it. Is it 27? Right there in the base of the steps, right?
Yes, sir.
Things are serious.
At that point, I realized it was more serious than I was first made aware. Yes, sir.
First made aware of it or expected?
Expected, I guess. Well, I guess just the demeanor of the persons when I first encountered. I wasn't expecting to find a scene of that magnitude or of that nature.
Around frame.
No, sir, they were not.
Were other law enforcement there about the time you found the blood?
I believe I don't know exactly what time, but I do know that Deputy Jeremy Pratt had arrived sometime therein, and also Ricky Inman with the sheriff's office had arrived sometime at that point.
Did you stay there for a little bit there?
Initially, I did. When I found the carport, I had actually, at that point, tried to get Clint Bobo to write me out a statement, realizing how serious, hey, I need to get something on paper. I need to get some facts. Tell me what you saw for sure. Write it down.
Did you give him some paper?
I did.
Where you could write it down?
Yes, sir.
Other officers get there.
Yes, sir.
These other officers have various responsibilities.
Yes, sir.
Other people get there.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember Miss Karen getting there?
Yes, sir, I do. We spoke briefly in the front driveway. I believe I was coming back from roping off the area around the carport with the sheriff's tape and met her in front. Again, it was brief. I started asking her specific questions about Holly, trying to get a little bit more information. I believe at that point is when I realized that she had her cell phone with her still.
Okay. She has her cell phone with her, or at least it's not there.
Yes, sir.
Does that mean something to you?
Yes, sir. That means that there's a good possibility that we can actually start using that data off of that to triangulate some sort of location.
Try to figure out where her cell phone is.
Correct.
Maybe that's where she is.
Correct.
And maybe we can go get it.
Correct.
So what do you do?
I contacted our 911 system and asked them to contact the cell phone carrier so they can initiate the tracking of the phone.
Under certain circumstances, can law enforcement make contact with the cell phone provider like AT&T?
Yes, sir. Life and death situation with you.
And was that process started?
Yes, sir, it was.
To complete that process, though, what do they need?
They needed a supervisor's signature.
So what'd you do?
I had to leave the residence and get to the 911 center so I could fax a copy of my signature and letterhead so they would relay the information to me.
Lights and sirens again, or just plain old fashioned?
I'm sure I did, sir.
Did you sign that order, that paperwork, asking for this cell phone information?
Yes, sir, I did.
Now, when you ask for that sort of cell phone information, like from AT&T, how does it come to you?
They actually emailed it to my departmental email.
And in fact, AT&T that morning emails you several, what I'm going to say, nobody's asking about cell phone expertise or anything right now. They email you several pings of Holly's phone. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
In what sort of form? They don't send you a map with like a...
No, sir. It's a lot of numbers. Looks a lot more like longitude, latitude stuff.
Is that stuff you're trained in or not trained in?
I'm not trained in that, sir.
So what do you do when AT&T emails you all these numbers that's a cell phone pin?
We were relaying them to the TBI agents, and also I believe Highway Patrol or Jackson PD had a helicopter in the area at that time, and we were relaying that to them.
So AT&T starts sending you pings from her phone. You start relaying that information to whoever you can,
Yes, sir.
but including TBI.
Yes, sir.
Do you actually go chasing these cell phone pings?
No, sir.
Okay, so what are your responsibilities once these cell phone pings start coming in?
My responsibilities at the time were to follow those until they stopped or until she was found.
All right, those pings stopped. We'll hear testimony about it a few hours into that day.
Yes, sir.
Hey, were you tasked later that day or during that day with going out and trying to investigate a little bit or trying to talk to people a little bit?
Yes, sir. After we realized that there were no more pings coming through on the cell phone, I was given a job along with Deputy Jeremy Pratt to go and interview our local sex offenders throughout the county.
In your travels that you had to drive from place to place, I assume.
Yes, sir.
In any of those travels, first, do you know Zach Adams?
I do know Zach Adams.
Do you know Shane Austin?
I did know Shane Austin.
In your travels that day, from place to place or wherever to wherever, did you ever encounter Zach Adams?
No, sir. Not that I recall. No, sir.
Would you recall?
I believe I would have recalled, but no, sir. I don't
You
recall.
ever encounter Shane Austin?
No, sir.
Did either Zach Adams or Shane Austin ever talk to you that day?
No, sir. Not that I can recall.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Cross-examination.
Hello, Mr. Weber. I'm Jennifer Thompson. So you're the first officer on the scene that day.
Yes, ma'am.
And to be clear, you never walked back into the woods first thing looking for Holly, did you?
The initial thing, no.
Yes. Matter of fact, you had Clint Bobo come over and begin to fill out some paperwork.
We spoke briefly and walked around the house. Yes, ma'am.
When you first got there, he was standing in the front of the house.
Clint Bobo, yes, ma'am.
Did he tell you that there was some blood over in the carport?
I don't remember that ever coming out until we'd already made it around the house.
But you didn't see the blood yourself, did you?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Initially, when you made your first day report, you said you didn't see the blood but told Inman about it.
I don't know. No, ma'am, I don't. I don't know how I could have told him about it if I hadn't seen it.
Well, Clint told you, you told Inman.
No, ma'am, I don't believe that's it.
So you say you did walk over and look at the blood?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
So you walked all the way through the carport to look at the blood?
No, I stepped into the carport without seeing a picture. There's a breezeway, I guess you could say, from the back porch area going over there, and you could see down in through there.
You weren't the first person to put up tape that morning around the crime scene, were you?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Dana Bobo had already put up some pink ribbon to block off the carport, hadn't he?
Ma'am, Dana Bobo was not there when I got there.
Okay, so it's your testimony that you're the first person that put up crime scene tape around the carport.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
How long after you arrived did it take for Mr. Officer Pratt to arrive?
Ma'am, I don't know.
Can you give us a guesstimate?
The 911 log would probably show. I honestly don't know.
So at what point did you walk back in the woods looking for Holly?
I don't know. It'll been after we, it might have been about the time that Karen and I had spoken up front, and I remember some of our last words. She hollered at me to find her daughter, so.
She actually ran into the woods looking for Holly before you did, didn't she?
I don't know. I didn't see her do that, no.
You never saw Karen Bobo run into the woods?
No, ma'am.
Now, Karen Bobo got there after you got there, didn't she?
She did.
And so that's something you did not observe that morning?
No, ma'am, I did not see her do that.
So you think that you maybe walked into the woods after Karen Bobo arrived?
I don't know. I never saw her go into the woods, so I couldn't tell whether she did after I had been or not.
Okay, so when you walked into the woods, did you run through the woods or did you just
No,
walk?
ma'am. No, ma'am. It wasn't a run. We walked through the woods.
Okay, and what did you observe?
Honestly, we were looking for any sort of blood trail at that point because I'd already noticed the blood in the carport. I was looking for any sort of disturbances that I might find, potentially even her.
Okay, so when you say disturbance, what were you looking for disturbance-wise?
Disturbances in the leaves, drag marks through dirt, anything like that.
Did you find anything like that?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you take any photographs as you were walking through the woods?
I don't recall having taken any photographs, no, ma'am.
When you walked through the woods, how long did you walk and where did you come out?
I come out on, it may have been Swan Johnson Road. I believe it cuts right through there.
Did you take any pictures of the logging road that was back in there?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you make any kind of observations about tire prints or tire tracks back in there?
No, ma'am, I did not.
When you were walking around in the carport area, did you have any kind of booties on or anything to prevent you from leaving footprints?
I didn't walk through the carport. I walked up to the threshold of the door.
How about when you were walking on the trail? Did you do anything to prevent yourself from leaving footprints?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Did you do anything to try to preserve footprints that were on the trail?
I didn't observe any footprints on the trail.
Did you put out any kind of information about getting a roadblock?
No, ma'am, I don't recall doing that.
Did you send out messages that somebody should go and start checking roads or intersections?
Not that I recall, no, ma'am.
When you finally called and started to get the pings, you didn't call to get the first ping and get the paperwork in until just a few minutes before 9 o'clock. Isn't that right?
I don't remember. I remember calling Henderson County Sheriff's Office for some assistance. I believe they had a tracking dog. That was during the time I was at the house also, but to say at what point that was during the whole ordeal that morning, I couldn't specify a time.
So that's just a detail you don't remember today?
Excuse me?
That's a detail you don't remember today?
The time?
The time that you started to get the first ping?
No, I'm sure it's documented, the time of the first ping.
Do you have that documentation with you today?
No, ma'am, I don't. collected all of my case file anything that I was involved with, the TBI picked up.
So you don't even have your case file with you?
No, ma'am.
In order to testify today, did you review the case file?
No, ma'am, I have not.
So when was the last time you reviewed the case file?
About the last time I was involved with it before the TBI took it, I'm sure.
And the TBI, did they take it that very day?
It was within the first early days of it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're saying it's been a good 7+ years since you reviewed the materials?
No, ma'am, it's 6 years.
Okay, 6 years since you reviewed the material. Sorry.
It's probably not been exactly 6, but it's getting pretty close.
Okay. If I were to tell you that the first ping came in at 8:56 and you actually got a no hit back on the first ping, would that refresh your memory on that?
It wouldn't mean anything to me, ma'am. I don't know anything about what all that data and what all that pinging is supposed to do. I know that they're supposed to be able to use that information to triangulate a location off of it. Somebody way smarter than I am.
If I were to tell you the second ping came in at 8:57, would that refresh your memory on that?
No, ma'am.
And that there actually was a hit on the 8:57 ping. You recognize that you're the person that told AT&T. You had to you fill out a form and mail it into a fax number, isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am, an exigent circumstances form.
And it's actually a kind of a warrant saying we have emergency circumstances and we believe that if you can give us the location of this ping, we can stop a crime in progress or save a life.
Yes, ma'am.
Those are kind of the two exigent circumstances that they need to do a ping.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the person, you've already testified, that filled out the paperwork to get that ping and faxed it over.
Yes, ma'am.
You do remember that the AT&T call that you made was recorded on the 911 system, right?
Sure it is. All the 911 lines are recording.
And AT&T actually asks you, how often do you want to get a ping back on the phone? Do you remember that they asked you?
No, I don't remember the specifics of the conversation.
Do you remember you telling them you just would get one every 15 minutes?
I don't remember that.
Did you recognize it would have been possible to get one every 1 minute?
No, I did not know that.
So after this happened, you were assigned the job of going around and looking for the sex offenders that day.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a memory that there's over 90 sex offenders that lived within a short distance of the Bobo home?
I remember there's several. To say a specific number, ma'am, honestly, I had a yellow legal pad and it was full of people that we made contact with, so.
But several is different than saying it was close to 100.
Okay. Yeah. I don't remember the specific number, ma'am, but I know it was a lot.
They actually kind of just set you up on a road and you kind of started on one road and started just going in order. Isn't that right?
No, ma'am. Deputy Pratt and I decided that we would start closest to the Bobo residence and start working a spiral grid outward from that.
Okay, I'm sorry, but what I meant was you had a list of where everybody lived and what their address was, and you were going in address order when you were checking on people.
I was not going in address order. I was going in proximity to the Bobo home.
Okay. Maybe I'm not phrasing it. You weren't doing it alphabetically. You started at the Bobo home and you were kind of moving from house to house, getting further away.
I would say that's correct, yes.
Okay. And so do you have a memory now that one of the people that you were to check on was a man named Eric Christensen who lived on Jeanette Holiday Road, 2700 Jeanette Holiday Road?
I'm sure we did. I don't remember his specific name. No, ma'am.
What you're saying now is you have absolutely no memory of that.
I remember speaking to a lot of people that day, ma'am.
Okay, Your Honor, if I could take a few minutes, I'd like to pull together some of the materials I have from his case file so that I can hand it up to him, see if it refreshes any of his memory. I didn't know that he was going to be called today, so I don't have my materials ready. I was just told he was being called a few minutes ago.
How long will it take you?
It's probably going to take me about 15 minutes. I do have significant more questions to ask him if I can get his memory refreshed on some of the materials.
Let's break for the evening at this point, then we'll continue tomorrow. I want you to be ready to go like that.
It is difficult when I don't know which witnesses are going to be called in advance, Your Honor.
The order in which they call their witnesses is up to them. If you call witnesses, the order in which you call is up to you. I want our bailiffs to be apprised so that they can kind of have them in waiting. Okay? 5:30, you folks are gonna have to get settled in, so it won't hurt us to break for the evening. They'll feed you. Not gonna identify them by name, but we've got one of our jurors that has a birthday on Thursday. I want this juror to be treated very favorably on the birthday, okay? And like I said, I'm not gonna identify who it is. The Sheriff's Department will know that.
We may have a birthday tomorrow.
Oh, there's one tomorrow? Maybe I had the wrong date. All right. Mine's Friday, okay? I'll still be here Friday, but the birthday's tomorrow. I want her to be treated special, right? All right, your admonitions don't, just put this out of your mind as best you can, okay? Do not form or express an opinion. Keep an open mind on the case until you're instructed to do so. Do not discuss the case with anyone, not even your fellow jurors, until the case is submitted to you for your final consideration. Do not allow the case to be discussed in your presence. Ignore any news reports. Avoid conversations with parties, witnesses, or attorneys, and promptly report any violations of these rules to the court. The jury may now be excused. You can leave your notebook in the seat. Courtroom will be secured overnight.
Please listen to the entire message as the conflict changed effective April 8, 2011. You have reached the AT&T Mobility Court Order Compliance Center of AT&T. If you're calling from the 911 Emergency Center, if this is a life or death matter, press 4.
Okay, this is Judy. I work at the 911 Center of Cater County, Tennessee. We have got a missing 20-year-old female with that was pulled away from her home. We need a trace put on her cell phone, please.
Okay, what's the phone number?
Okay, 731 549 7352. Her name is Holly Bobo, B-O-B-O.
731-549-7352.
Yes, sir.
Okay, one moment. And then, how long was your phone? Did she call 911?
No, sir. Her brother reported her missing. She was pulled away from her home and she was outside into the road. And my sergeant, Tony Weber, requested me to call you and put a trace on her cell phone, please.
The brother called in there?
Yes, her brother reported her missing. She was in her home.
So, yeah, 118. That's right. What code of your station?
The zip code of my station is 38329. We're in Potato.
And may I have your callback number and your password?
Yes, my callback number is 731 852 3911. And the fax number is 731 852 3914.
There it is. Any location on the phone right now?
No, I don't have a location on the phone. Yes, it's on.
Okay, I can go ahead and provide the information to you quickly. I just need to record the conversation. And you give the details of the line to the third party and
Okay, so the only thing I can tell you is she was outside, to my knowledge. Her brother heard her screaming. He looked out. There was a boy in camouflage clothing that pulled her into the woods. He heard her screaming, and I think a neighbor also reported her screaming.
Okay.
And it's around 8 a.m. this morning.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to go ahead and when I come back, I'm just going to ask you a few questions regarding how the call came into your office and I'm going to provide the information.
Okay.
Okay?
Possibly was Buffy, he was screaming, concerning, a male with camo from a Michigan wood. A neighbor also heard her screaming. Hold on, please. Kilo, what time is it talking? Is it 7:59? 7:59, I get it.
No. Whatever, if I call you, I'm looking for person and I'm paying you back. You're requesting the location.
Yes.
Right? So in the phone, I'm not getting a location on the phone right now, so not sure the power line.
Let me ask you one thing, sir. If you don't have a signal, what I call a signal in that area, will that affect your then?
Yeah, possibly, you know, I guess.
Okay, so I'll let you speak to the sergeant. Hold on just a moment.
How can I, what is a track, it's awful if there's any news or anything. Okay, if you could drop to give me an email address, and I can set something, give me email in 15 minutes. Yeah, that's fine, it's C-letter, W-E-B-E-R, okay, at NBC, NOTUASE.net.
Okay, so that was an accurate reflection of the phone call that day. Is that right?
Sounded accurate, yes, ma'am.
And at some point, you heard the AT&T person give a location of Holiday Circle,
I heard him give a lot of locations, pings and numbers.
and the I guess the 911 operator was asking if they had an address, and he said, "Well, it was coming back with an address." And he was trying to give the closest address possible, and he said a Holiday Circle.
Okay.
So, and he also said at some point that the phone was pinging over by Interstate I-40.
Yes, ma'am.
But at that time, you did not send a group of officers up that direction, did you?
No, ma'am.
As a matter of fact, once you got these two readings, the latitude and longitude readings, you didn't send officers to those readings, did you?
I relayed the information that I was given to officers to try to go to certain locations. Yes, ma'am, I did.
But as you know, officers did not go to those readings within the first hour.
Ma'am, I don't know. I was clearly at the dispatch center and obtaining the information as to what officers or if any went there. I don't know.
And since yesterday, you had an opportunity to review the report that you prepared in this case, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am. I looked at it this morning.
And as a matter of fact, you, as the first officer on the scene, were charged with making the preliminary investigation report in the whole case.
Yes, ma'am. I have to start a case so we can have a case number for follow-up things, just like the AT&T track.
And so in your report that you filled out on the very first page under the accused, suspect, other category, you actually put Clint Bobo's name in there, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
And then on the second page, you wrote out a narrative.
Yes, ma'am.
And a narrative is just a brief paragraph of kind of what had occurred.
Just a brief summation. Yes, ma'am.
And you wrote this. Do you remember what day you actually sat down and wrote out the report?
No, ma'am. A lot of that stuff was kind of running together. I mean, there was a lot of things going on during that time.
So you're saying it was all kinds of information coming in.
Yes, ma'am.
And because of it all, it's possible that it was several days until you wrote out the report.
There may be a timestamp on the report. I don't know.
Okay. And if there's not a timestamp on the report, then no telling when it was actually typed into a computer.
It would have been there pretty quick. It's not going to be a week later or anything like that. It would have been within the first day or so because other people are going to need that case number for their files also.
You put down in your report that upon arriving at the scene, you spoke with the brother, Clint Bobo.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
reported the victim, Holly Bobo, of the reported victim, Holly Bobo.
Sounds right.
Okay. And you're saying that Mr. Bobo gave you a verbal statement that he was asleep in the home and heard a scream.
If that's what I put down, that's what he told me. Yes, ma'am.
But it's possible that you got that part confused because it's the neighbor that heard the scream.
It's possible. It's in my report. Unfortunately, that's what I typed up, so that's what I have to stand by.
Like you didn't have any specific notes from when you spoke to Clint Bobo first thing that day, did you?
No, ma'am. The statement form that I gave him, I don't know whatever happened to it.
Okay, so you would agree with me that whatever piece of paper you gave him that day to fill out has been lost at this point.
I would say that I never gained possession of it back at that day, no.
Okay, because you didn't review that paper in preparation for your testimony today.
No, ma'am, I have not seen that paper.
Okay. And so you also put down that Clint Bobo checked outside the home and he saw his sister in a pink shirt and light colored blue jeans walking into the woods.
That's the description he would have given me. Sounds right.
But he had also told you that he had seen his sister kneeling down, speaking to somebody outside the window. Didn't he tell you that?
I don't remember that.
Okay, so it's a detail you don't remember today.
Yes, ma'am.
Clint Bobo advised you he didn't think much about his sister heading into the woods with her boyfriend.
Seems like that's right.
He explained to you that the boyfriend was a turkey hunter.
I do recall that, yes.
At some point, he realized what was happening and he called 911.
Yes, ma'am.
Upon the arrival at the scene, you put down that you did locate and photograph some blood inside the carport.
That's what I put, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yesterday when you said you didn't take pictures, you did in fact take some pictures.
It says that. I don't know whatever happened to him, but it does say that. So I imagine I would have, probably on my cell phone, because that would have been what I would have had on me at the time. I don't carry around a camera with me, so.
And back in 2011, did you have a cell phone that took pictures?
It was a department-issued iPhone, yes, ma'am.
That part you remember?
What?
You remember that you had a cell phone an iPhone that took pictures?
I remember that I had a department-issued iPhone. We all had them, yes, ma'am.
And then it says that you went inside this home. You're one of the people that cleared the house?
No, ma'am. I don't remember ever going in the home.
Okay, so it was only Jeremy Pratt that cleared the home?
I don't know that, ma'am. I did not go in the home.
Okay. And you tried to get a dog up there, but they told you that there was going to be a significant time delay on the dog.
I do remember trying to get a dog up there, but I don't remember being told. I did read that in my report this morning, so obviously somebody did tell me that.
Did you stay in your office to get the emails, or was that something you could get on your iPhone? The emails from AT&T with the pings.
I believe I had to use a computer there at dispatch, but I don't remember. I remember them coming in by email.
As a matter of fact, you were able to get 4 pings total. Is that right?
I don't remember exactly how many, ma'am.
Okay, well, and I take that back. The very first locate on the phone that we heard there, that locate, there was no hit at the time. Did you?
I heard him say that. Yes, ma'am.
And so then we heard 2 locates on the telephone just then.
Yes, ma'am.
And then they ended up sending you additional 2 more. Isn't that right?
Ma'am, again, I don't remember the number in total. I remember some emails coming through, but I don't remember how many.
At that point, then, you did not have the means by which to use this latitude and longitude information they gave you to pinpoint it on the map, did you?
No, ma'am, I didn't have a GPS or anything to use that information.
Okay. And it never occurred to you when you were talking to the people on the phone to ask them to update the system every 1 minute?
No, ma'am.
You did hear the man say on the phone that he was constantly refreshing the data to see if it had changed.
Ma'am, he never told me that.
You didn't hear him on the phone just now say that?
I heard him on there say that, but he didn't say that to me. So no, ma'am, I was not aware that you could do that.
Okay. At the very last, when he said to you, I've been refreshing, and then he said, oh, it's just changed, I've got a new reading for you. Did you remember him saying that?
I remember him saying that.
And then you did a supplement to your report at a later date. Isn't that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And in that supplement, you added all the sex offenders that you had gone to visit.
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to see sex offenders with Jeremy Pratt.
Yes, ma'am.
You teamed up together to do that.
We did team up for some of them. I think John Reichard, one of the other road sergeants, assisted with a couple also.
Okay. And so in doing that, I'd like to pass to you some papers I have. I have some copies, and granted, they're not very good copy. Some notes I have here. Can you tell me if that's your handwriting?
Some of it does appear to be my handwriting. Yes, ma'am.
I think one of the problems with these notes is when they're copied, you can see a little bit of what was on the back of the paper also. Would you agree with me that it appears that these rough notes on the piece of paper I just handed you are the same information that eventually got transcribed into your supplement number 1 of your report?
I would say yes, ma'am. Some of the information was transcribed into my report.
Would it be helpful if I passed you a copy of your supplement of your report?
That'd be fine.
And yesterday you testified that you kind of started with the sex offenders that were closest to the Bobo home. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the first person there that you go see is John Turner, number 1. It's probably easier if you look at the typed report.
His name is first on the list, so I would probably have to say that's about right.
Okay. And he lives on Eastwood. You know where Eastwood is. But I'm sorry, you located him at Melton Lane.
Yes, ma'am.
At Eastwood. The second person is on Manus Lane. That's close to the Bobo's house. Is that right?
I'm not sure mileage-wise, but it's within the city limits of Parsons, I believe. Yes, ma'am.
And that's Melvin Stegall. You checked on him.
Melvin Stegall. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, Seagal. The next person is Timothy Wheat.
Yes, ma'am.
Also on Manus Lane.
Yes, ma'am.
Then is it Michael Broughton?
Yes, ma'am.
The fifth person is James Riddle.
Yes, ma'am.
He's on Rawson Lane.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then you move over to Jeanette Holiday Road.
Yes, ma'am.
And you know where Jeanette Holiday Road is located.
I do.
And it's close to the Bobo home.
Yes, ma'am.
It's certainly closer to the Bobo home than Adams Lane.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you checked on Eric Christensen.
It's what it says. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he was home when you got there.
It's what it says.
And then the next person on the list is Terry Britt, number 7.
Yes, ma'am.
And he was at 3138 Jeanette Holiday Road.
Yes, ma'am.
He gave you his story of what he had been doing that day. He said he woke up at 6 a.m. Wife woke up at 8:30-ish. And they left going to All Goods in Camden to buy supplies for remodeling the house.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you remember that upon arrival, they were unloading, Jan and Terry Britt were unloading a tub from a truck?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you say truck, you mean a pickup truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you got there sometime that afternoon after approximately 2:00, didn't you?
I don't remember the exact time, ma'am.
Do you see a time written on your sheet? On your handwritten notes? I couldn't find a time, but...
Ma'am, I'm struggling here. It's kind of copied over and it's hard to read, but not that I can tell. No, ma'am.
And do you remember that deputy, you had just mentioned another deputy who was also doing checks on sex offenders. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
And that other deputy, what was his name?
Jonathan Reichard.
And Mr. Riker, and he was paired up with a second person also, wasn't he?
Ma'am, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay.
I would say probably.
Okay. And so do you remember that they had already been by the Britt home that morning and nobody was there?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And there's a list, a timetable that was included in all, well, I guess officers, when they came in, then began to try to form some type of timeline and keep a record of who was doing what.
I would hope so.
And you remember that you worked pretty late that day.
I'm sure I did.
Okay. So if at 8:38 you were still out there checking sex offenders, that would make sense to you, wouldn't it?
I'm sure. I don't remember getting a whole lot of sleep there for about a week.
Okay. And that day also, you said that you had gone, you initially were at the Bobo home, but you left sometime that morning to go back to the Parsons or the Decatur County Sheriff's Department.
The dispatch center, yes, ma'am.
And where is the Decatur County Sheriff's Department?
It's on Main Street in Decaturville. I don't know the numerical address.
Okay, so in order to get there from the Bobo home, you would have driven past the hospital. The Parsons Hospital. Is it Parsons or Decatur County Hospital?
Decatur County General Hospital.
So you would have driven past the Decatur County General Hospital going that direction.
That's one way to go, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that's the way you went that morning, isn't it?
I don't know, ma'am. I don't know which road I took. I would imagine I took that road just because it's the main thoroughfare.
Okay. If I can have one moment. No further questions, Ron.
For the director of the state.
Yeah, I have a few, Judge.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I did want to put that phone call in as.
I'm wondering. This, and it will be within the 37.
Can we have his report put in also and his handwritten notes that you recognize them as?
Want to be heard on that? Yes, bring that with you. That was a period of reports that have just been found as evidence were introduced for purposes of him refreshing his recollection. They're hearsay and not to be considered as proof of it. Okay? All right.
Which one is going to be 38?
The big one was, or the multi-page was on top, I think. And 39 is practically illegible.
Mr. Park, back continue, Your Honor.
You may.
You told us yesterday you're not a cell phone expert.
No, sir.
That wasn't your job.
No, sir, it was not.
So I'm not going to try to make you one. Okay. But did you hear what I heard on that phone call?
Yes, sir, I did.
AT&T guy couldn't give you an address, could he?
No, sir.
He couldn't tell you Holly's phone was here
No, sir.
at a place or on a road or anything like that.
No, sir.
Object to the leading.
No, sir, good enough.
I'll be mindful of it, Judge.
Okay.
Instead, what did he tell you?
Latitude and longitudes of possible locations.
And did you hear him mention something about like a radius?
Yes, sir. 4,000 kilometers, approximately 2 miles, I believe is what I heard him say.
Approximately 2-mile radius.
Yes, sir.
So you're talking about a 2-mile swatch,
Yes, sir.
but not a place or a road.
No, sir.
Did you hear him say anything about a city?
No, sir.
Did you hear him ever mention Holiday, Tennessee?
Not that I recall, no, sir.
Did you ever hear him mention Interstate 40?
Yes, sir, I did.
Do you know, you were asked where Adams Lane is.
Yes, sir.
But do you know who lives on Adams Lane?
Yes, sir, I do.
Who?
Zach Adams and his grandfather.
Adams Lane near Interstate 40?
It is, sir.
It's right there, isn't it?
It's pretty close, yes, sir.
Adams Lane near Holiday, Tennessee?
Yes, sir, it is.
Right there, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Now, even though you aren't a cell phone expert, and they gave you these pings, they emailed you pings, right?
Yes, sir, they did.
What did you just ignore them?
No, sir. We gave the information to people that I thought would be useful to them.
Because that was your job.
Yes, sir.
Did TBI get them?
They did it. Yes, sir.
Highway Patrol?
Highway Patrol did also. Yes, sir.
Other people responsible for trying to find them.
Other people that were trying to help us. Yes, sir.
And you went about your job.
Yes, sir, I did.
There's a list of sex offenders you talked to.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir, there is.
Was not overruled.
You talked to Terry and Janet Britt.
I did. Yes, sir.
You saw them that morning. Is that right?
Yes, sir. At some point during that day, I did run into them.
And you were asked, you saw them doing something. Is that right?
When we,
That is leading.
What did you see when you encountered them?
when the Deputy Pratt and I pulled up into the driveway of the Britt's home, they were outside unloading a pickup truck with some remodeling supplies to their home.
Previously, the word tub was used. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by that?
A bathtub.
Stuff for the bathroom?
That's what it appeared to be, yes, sir.
Not like a big bucket or something like that.
No, sir.
You did all that after you had actually been at the crime scene where she was taken, right?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
We talked about this yesterday, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
Takes a second, Judge, sorry.
And the lights dark. Okay, here we go.
While we wait for it to warm up, did you describe for us that one of your things you did out there was put up some crime scene tape?
Yes, sir, I did.
Now, were you the crime scene officer?
I was the initial officer on scene, sir.
Do you know what I mean by that? That's when I say crime scene officer?
A tech that examines.
Absolutely.
No, sir, I'm not.
You weren't doing that.
No, sir,
You weren't taking samples of blood.
I was not.
You weren't walking every step of the crime scene, putting tape and everything.
No, sir. No,
Just nine.
Did you put some tape up though?
I did at one point. Yes, sir.
If we can just resume the lights, Judge, I'll pass him this and we can, we'll figure it out over the next break.
Okay.
My pass you what's been previously marked as Exhibit 7.
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you see the tape that you put up?
I see some crime scene tape, and that's the area that I pulled up. Yes, sir.
It's time I put the witness show. My first witness. Can you show me the tape in the area that you put up?
Yes, sir. Over here next to there's an alleyway going down the carport. All right. Over here would be the door walking down into the carport where Holly's car would have been. Just to the left of that, there was some sort of decoration, and then the door going into the main entrance of the home on the back side. I tied the tape between there, strung out through here, and back over to a brush, small tree on the back corner of this right here.
Okay. And would you agree with me that you put tape that stretched from the porch or from the carport, I guess it's more the porch than the carport, all the way across this back area to a tree or something?
I carried it all the way across to the shed back here where you can see Clint Bobo's truck. I was trying to preserve this area just in case, because we'd already observed the blood on the carport, or in the carport, I should say, and then a spatter on the wall. So I was trying to preserve this area just in case there might have been some sort of indication of a trail of which way they had left outside of that area.
On the other side, it spans from some trees or something over next to the carport all the way across to the other trees.
That's correct, sir.
Would you agree with me that you didn't put any crime scene tape across the mouth of that carport?
No, sir, I did not.
If somebody put crime scene tape across the mouth of that carport, that would not have been you.
No, sir, it would not.
Might I display this to the jury room?
know.
You can see the crime scene tape going across the backyard, is that right?
Yes, sir.
On both sides of
It covers up a big section of that driveway there at the end of the carport.
But you can see that you didn't put crime scene tape actually on the mouth of the carport.
No, sir. Yeah, or yes, sir, you can see that.
So somebody later came on and did that. That wasn't you.
If it was there later, yes, sir, it was not me.
That's all my questions, John.
Further cross.
Mr. Weber, you did not put up that crime scene tape right away, did you?
No, ma'am. I put it up after I had noticed the blood in the carport.
First thing you did when you got there was you handed Clint Bobo a form to fill out, didn't you?
No, ma'am. I spoke with Clint Bobo first. And then eventually, during our discussions, yes, ma'am, he was handed a form to fill out.
He was handed the form to fill out.
I would object this goes beyond the scope of recalls.
It does, Your Honor, because
She can.
you gave him the form to fill out after Karen Bobo arrived, before Karen Bobo arrived.
I would say that was safe to say, yes, ma'am.
And the crime scene tape was after that.
After what?
You gave him the form to fill out.
At which time? No, it'd be hard pressed to say. It all happened pretty quick within the same moments therein. But once the blood was noticed, there was several things that happened. I realized the severity of what was going on, and things started happening a lot quicker.
But once you realized the severity of what's going on, you still didn't go in the woods.
No, ma'am.
No further questions.
All right, sit down. Let's breathe down when you get to remain short. Sorry, take your notes.
Can we have a minute to see if we can get the projector working? Because our next witness, we're going to use.
Well, let's just utilize our time. We'll take a morning recess. Follow the rules I gave you at the outset, please. No discussion with things that are on page 20 of your notebook. Leave your notebooks with us, and we'll take 15 minutes. I said there would be no placards, no T-shirts, no stickers, things like that in support of the victim's family. I instructed the sheriff if they saw any, that they were to cover those. There were some yesterday, there were some today. I don't think it's the family. I think it's well wishers from outside. One car was Chester County, one was Madison County. So just be aware. Please cover anything that would indicate support for anyone. If you don't, the sheriff will cover it. I don't think it will be an issue because this jury is very closely guarded. They're on a bus where they can't see out and they come directly in the courtroom. But please, if you would, be cautious about that. You folks can be seated until the jury. Thank you. All right, be seated, please. I won't say anything else. Mr. Shaw, birthday yesterday.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. I'm Friday, and we're not going to sing, okay? All right, call your next witness for the state.
The state called Special Agent Warren James.